Welcome everyone to Pod and Gore, your one-stop shop for everything horror. Now here's your hosts, Justin and Brandon. Take it away, boys.
Hello and welcome to Pod and Gore. My name is Brandon.
My name is Justin.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the bonus episode.
Boom.
Yeah, welcome to the product of my fuck up. Yeah, welcome to this is our bonus, as you'll tell from the title. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm going to name it yet, but we will know by the time I post it. So this is going to be our bonus. Mm-hmm. We're going to basically do our Leslie Vernon episode in half the time, at least. And then Justin did a movie, I did a movie. We're just going to find a way to fill in some extra time.
And then we're going to say, piss off, ghost, and you're going to leave.
Yep, and then I'm going to go home and not do anything. All right, guys, so Leslie Vernon, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, is a 2006 American mockumentary black comedy horror film directed by Scott Glosserman. It stars Nathan Beazle. Well, it says introducing, but this is, I think, his first movie.
Yeah.
He'd done TV. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of sad because the guy did great.
Yeah, I really liked him in this.
Angela Goethals is how I might say that, and Robert Englund and Scott Wilson. Although largely filmed in Oregon, the film takes place in a small town in Maryland and follows a journalist and her film crew that is documenting an aspiring serial killer who models himself according to the slasher film conventions. This film is an homage to the slasher film genre and features cameos from several veteran horror actors, including Robert Englund, Zelda Rubinstein, and Kane Hodder. The film premiered at the 2006 South by Southwest Film Festival and was shown in several other festivals. It received a limited release in the U.S. On March 16, 2007, and the domestic total gross was $69,136 with $38,500 opening weekend in 72 theaters.
And that's 1,000, not million.
Yeah, well, and what it did, it ranked 57th in that, so It's not the worst, but there was no budget listed, so we don't know how well. It doesn't look like there was a big budget for this movie, so it had to have made money. Behind the Mask was filmed largely in Portland, Oregon, and outlying towns of Troutdale, Banks, St. Helens, Estacada, and Suave Island. The establishing shots of Glen Echo were filmed on the main street in downtown Troutdale. One of the film's key sequences featuring Leslie's confrontation with Kelly at the library was filmed at the Central Library in downtown Portland. Filming took place in November 2004. Due to the limited budget and location restrictions, some of the script was rewritten during filming to accommodate the filming locations. During filming, several locations needed for certain scenes had yet to be scouted and were discovered in the middle of shooting. Actor Scott Wilson became involved in the film after suggestion from friend Robert Englund, who was already cast in the film.
It was really cool seeing Scott Wilson, to get a little word in edgewise here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of blasting through all this.
But the only thing I've really seen Scott Wilson in is Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. And so to see him in something else, and especially to have it be horror related, was really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And Robert Englund's always welcome.
Director Scott Glosserman recruited a group of young local filmmakers in Portland to work as additional editors on the film after seeing and being impressed by an independent film they had produced called The Black Shoe Drifter. So what I have in here is there's a list of awards that they had won. In 2006, at the Fantasia Film Festival, they won Best European North-South American Film. I remember this from the last time we did this. La Écran Fantastique Award. They won that, whatever that is. The Sequences Award for the Sequences magazine. The Audience Award for Gen Art Film Festival. They won the Carnet Jove Special Mention at the Sitges Catalan International Film Festival. And the Audience Choice Award for Best Feature Film at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival. They won Best Film. So The next great psycho horror slasher has given a documentary crew exclusive access to his life as he plans his reign of terror over the sleepy town of Glen Echo, which is their little description for it. Mm-hmm. So there's a few things, there's a few fun facts about this movie. At the beginning, Taylor is standing in front of the Red Rabbit pub. It is a reference to the Red Rabbit matchbook found by Dr. Loomis in Halloween. Mm-hmm. The first time Taylor interviews Eugene and his wife, a lament configuration puzzle box from Hellraiser can be seen sitting on the table. When Leslie first shows the crew his home, he introduces his 2 pet turtles as Church and Zoe. They are the names of the resurrected pets from Pet Sematary and from Pet Sematary film franchise. Church being the cat from Pet Sematary and Zoe being the dog from Pet Sematary 2. Kane and Hodder.
Kane and his friend Hodder.
Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in 4 of the Friday the 13th films, is seen walking into 1428 Elm Street. This was the address in which Nancy lived in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Although it's never explicitly mentioned in the film, Eugene is intended to be an older version of Billy, the killer from Black Christmas in 1974, which we will do in a couple months.
Yeah.
Doc Halloran's wardrobe and beard is nearly identical to that of Donald Pleasance's Dr. Loomis from the Halloween film franchise. Leslie's real surname is exposed to be Mancuso. Frank Mancuso Jr. was the producer of most of the Friday the 13th movies.
And to give you a breather so that you can actually inhale a little bit.
There's two more. Here alone.
Okay.
Zelda Rubinstein used her signature voice from Poltergeist while telling the legend of Leslie Vernon to the girl in the library. Hmm. Several character names are references to classic horror films. For example, Doc Halloran is a mashup of Danny Torrance's nickname Doc in The Shining in 1980 and Dick Halloran from the same movie, and Jamie being a reference to Jamie Lee Curtis, who was the final girl in several slasher movies such as Halloween in 1978 and Prom Night in 1980. Feel free to interject now.
There's not really much point now, but
you can still do it. I just didn't want
trying to remember the Mancuso thing.
Yeah,
I remember when we watched the movie, I was like, God, that name sounds familiar, and it's because I had just done the Friday the 13th episode for my other show.
Right, that's right.
So it rang a bell.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that 2 weeks ago when we actually recorded this episode.
Yeah.
So,
good times.
Long story short, there has been sequel talks to this movie.
Mm-hmm. And we discovered after recording this that there was a comic book.
Yes, there was.
I don't remember any of the details about it, but it does exist.
Right. So in early of 2000, I'm just going to fucking read it. Okay. In an interview, David J. Stevie, okay. when asked if he was working on a new script, said, well, then you're treading into sequel territory. If there's any kind of scoop, it's not really a scoop, but I can tell you and your readers that there's a definite idea for what's going to happen to Leslie Vernon next. That's been the goal all along. There are a lot of what ifs, and things have to happen right in this business for that to ever come to fruition. But certainly if there's ever going to be another horror movie coming from me, my biggest impulse, of course, is to relate what happens next to Leslie. Basil, when asked about the possibility of returning for a sequel to Behind the Mask, stated, There's a certain chance. I know that ideas have already been circulating around Scott and David's heads, and I'd love to take Leslie on again. However, I don't think we'd undertake a sequel unless the script is as good or better than Behind the Mask. The first was so good it would be pissing on Leslie's legacy to set out with anything less than inspired, and Leslie would never have that. In early 2017, director Scott Glosserman explained that the script for the sequel had become a little dated due to the changes in horror over the intervening years. The script itself captures the mid-aughts period in the midst of the torture porn, found footage genres. It had a lot of interesting things to say. Today, the script, that film, is almost like a period piece because I don't necessarily want to bring it up to current day, and yet certain things may feel a little bit old or period, depending on how you look at it. I think we captured the essence of what happened several years ago, or what was happening several years ago. If we do get the opportunity to make the film, I'm not sure I'd want to make the screenplay any more current. It's a little bit of a conundrum.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, that was the thing. When we got done recording the episode 2 weeks ago, we did find that there was a comic done. I should have looked it up because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But there was something to do with it, and I really wish that I want to try to find it, because I know that Justin, you didn't mind this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you cared for it as much as I loved this movie.
Right.
And so I would like to have the comic books for myself to have them, because I do like this movie is so clever.
Yeah.
And to me it's original. Like there's not like I haven't seen anything like it before or since. So it's like I wouldn't say like a breath of fresh air, but it's like it's something that it works because I mean it's not the same regurgitated stuff that you get all the time.
Right.
And
I will say that in the weeks that have passed since last we spoke of this, I actually am liking it more and more. It's one of those that, the more I think back on it, I was like, I love that it's a love letter to old school 80s horror. I love that it was found footage. I mean, it's not the first, because that's Blair Witch, but it did it in a way that was clever, and it seems cliche now because we've seen it so much, but had I seen it when it came out, it would have been much more, not quite revolutionary, but it would have made more of an impact.
Right.
Seeing it so many years after the fact, and I think that's part of my problem, is that I've seen so many movies do this.
Well, and see the thing with this,
it's not as novel.
Right. This was filmed 5 years after Blair Witch came out.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely did come after. I think it did hit before a lot of your other found footages came out, though, because like one of the things that we were going to cover in this episode was the fact that you finally watched VHS. Mm-hmm. But I think that I hopefully talked you into saving that so we can do. Yeah. We're not going to do an episode for each. Right. But
we'll do like an amalgam of all the VHSs.
We're gonna do the trilogy, because they're not so much movies, but things that happen. Yeah, basically almost like if we did ABCs of Death.
I don't know.
You're like,
yes, huh? That thing that you said there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we could really do a compilation and kind of weigh and balance all of the found footage videos in all 3 of them, question mark? There's 3 of them, is my question.
For VHS. Yeah, there's a VHS, VHS 2, and then VHS Viral. So if we do an episode, it'd just be the VHS trilogy.
Yeah, and so we'll take, not to speak for you, but we'll probably take all of the videos throughout the entire trilogy and just sort of break each one down.
Yeah, and
because there's only like 5.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
So we could probably breeze through it pretty quick.
I think we could.
That's why I wanted to use it for this episode, because I figured I could breeze through it pretty quick.
But see, like, I haven't been feeling well. This week has been crazy. I didn't get to watching as many movies as you did, and so...
And he had to go uphill both ways with potatoes in his pockets to keep his hands warm.
That's the second time you said that.
Not in this episode.
Fair enough. See, this is the thing about working with you, is I get to hear all the shit fucking said twice.
Yeah. You're my tester audience.
Yeah, well, it didn't work the first time, so I don't know what you thought.
But you're not feeling well on the potatoes thing, so I tried on smarter individuals.
Yeah, I got a dentist appointment in fucking 13 hours. I'm so stoked. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and hop into the notes for the movie. We don't have to go deep into the review of it, because we've already gone about halfway through, I think, the allotted time that we were going to use for this. Yeah. So
I'm not even going to look at my old notes, and I'm just sort of going to riff off of you.
Okay.
I want to start with, to give you a mouth break, that I loved this. I mean, like I said, when we first talked about it, I was a little lukewarm on it, just coming off of it. But like I said, the more I think about it, the more I like it, the more I want to buy it and watch it again.
Right.
Because it is, and what I ended up really liking about it is the way that it sets itself up, and I'm amazed there hasn't been a sequel, even if it was a bad one, because a lot of horror movies get shitty sequels. Most of the horror movies we love have shitty sequels.
Right. But and I think that's the thing that they were trying to avoid as well, and so I'm kind of glad they didn't do one just, for the sake of doing one and then being, like they said, shit on his legacy.
But I think the way that they set up this movie and how self-aware it is of the genre, that could play to its benefit. Like he's wanting to make the perfect sequel and keeps fucking it up, and he's pissed about it.
I could see that too, or things just not going to plan. Because I mean, everything went so according to plan in the first movie. Like everything was accounted for.
Yeah. Even when we thought it wasn't, it was.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if there was like a complete breakdown and it went the opposite direction for the sequel, I mean, that could be funny, but then again, that would kind of be going against his character.
Well, and I think that, I mean, that is the conundrum with my pitch, I suppose, but then it could be him truly adapting to that and pulling it off anyway. Because that's kind of what you're led to believe in this, is that, because the crew decided to act upon him, he's having to improvise and change up his plan, when in reality, that was his plan all along.
Yeah, it was, exactly.
But to see him actually have to improvise and pull it off anyway, I think would be really cool.
Right. I like the fact that this movie's, documentary style. I like that they kind of preface it by saying that this movie takes place in the same universe as all the heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm. And name drop them. I was surprised they were actually able to use so many blatant names and locations.
Well, and film locations. Like, they actually showed the house, like, they showed the Nightmare House, they showed the Halloween house, like, they showed those things, and I'm like, okay.
And then called them out by name.
Yeah, talking like he knows these guys, like, they grab a beer together kind of thing. So basically, the story is about a boy possessed, thrown over a waterfall, and doesn't die, I guess. Or
comes back.
And comes back, yeah.
Jason style.
Yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, the film crew shows up, they meet him. You kind of get the vibe that he's been toying with them the whole time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you kind of pointed out the last time we recorded this was, like, he kind of has things rigged. And so while I thought one thing was happening, you pointed out that something else could have happened. Like when they show him in the house, they think he's behind the barn, then you think he's up in the window, but then he's actually back over behind here.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely could have had things set up to
make it look like he was there,
he's very theatrical with everything that he does. And so, the thing that your favorite thing is when he does take him inside, and you wrote that he was cheesed off his cracker, which upset me. And of course, it made you chuckle. You're like, "Oh God, I'm so funny."
Yeah, I'm really funny. I forgot that I wrote that. I'm not looking at my notes to make this go a little quicker, but I mean, he's so banana balls when they take him in there. It's almost, I don't know if he's trying to keep them off kilter. I mean, I guess that would be the thing, but in watching it, not knowing that, he just seems crazy. And so as you're looking as the film crew is like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, and then, he's introducing his pet turtles, and he says that he can only have pets that he can eat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is a funny line.
It is hilarious.
But red flag.
I still, so then he takes them to, like, they go and check out the house, or the original house for the story, and kind of pokes fun at the legend. Because when you're watching this, you kind of find out that, like, he just kind of adopts this. So it's like, it's almost like you find there's a town that has an urban legend, and then you just go to that town and kind of make it your own, and then run with it. But then they show him, like, he talks about how he trains.
I love that.
How he trains for his kills, and
the intense cardio.
And, like, you always have to, they're running their ass off, and you got to make it look like you're walking.
Yeah.
Just
it's exhausting.
He's just
he's out of breath and sweating. It's so freaking great. Well, and I love that, like, they show him like scouting out people, and he's profiling them. He's like, well, you don't want to pick these people because they're not as
reason,
for this reason. But
scouting target groups.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so what you imagine these killers doing, but never actually get to see them do.
Exactly, and that's the thing that I like about this movie the most is that specifically.
Yeah.
So yeah, he scouts the target groups, looks for victims, talks about padding numbers with slow kids.
Yeah, that was funny.
And so then he kind of has this girl, this waitress. I believe it's Kelly is her name.
Yeah.
He's been watching her for a bit. She's a waitress. He thinks she's a virgin. Everything works out perfectly for his dream scenario of her being his final girl. And that he kind of sets up the scare, which they show it. They start the movie out with the scare, but then he kind of tells you how he breaks it down, with the fishing line on the brick, and then
which you would obviously see, but we'll just move past it. That's the one omission that I'm like, but it's fine.
Well, yeah,
it makes perfect sense, and like I said, it's one of those fitting horror movie cliches that always happens for no reason.
Unless because you do find out that the film crew helps him.
Yeah.
So if she puts the brick there, and then they swap the brick out with a brick with the string on it.
Yeah.
Because there is multiple people there while it's happening, so
sure. So if so if it's a regular brick when she puts it there, but then swaps it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think that's what happened. But
but let's just say it is because that's better.
And so, they're setting up the scare. He's kind of establishing himself to her, hiding behind a bush, and then door shuts. She looks back and he's gone. It's just everything about this movie behind the scenes, like him so excited that everything always goes according, like it just, it's like everything's falling into place. So then he goes to meet Eugene, which is Scott Wilson, and his wife, which he's old. She's pretty hot for being his wife. She's a nice, good looking old lady.
Indeed.
Not even old, but you would think because he's an older guy.
Yeah. It'd be funny if they had kind of alluded to her being like
the final girl that made it, like
or like a groupie, like one of those that's just someone that's obsessed with the serial killer and ends up with him.
Yeah, that could be too. So they go to meet Eugene, but he's in that sensory deprivation tank, buried.
That was funny.
It was.
What time is it? It's Tuesday.
He's like, he's been down there for 3 days, and he's like, oh shit. So Eugene talks about the old days, talks killing from the old days while he's cutting up that carrot. Yeah. I know that got you the last time too.
That was great.
He's just like,
he's doing it really slowly, and then it's like,
and then it's basically mashed.
Awesome.
And so, he ends up there's a little bit of legwork that he's doing. Like he creates the fake article connecting her to him through the past, and then sets up the whole library attack and scare, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where she meets the librarian, which is Zelda Rubinstein, from Poltergeist, and she has, I'm not saying like a Yeardley Smith iconic voice, but like,
it is one of those voices where I heard it, I was like, God, I know that from somewhere. I just don't know where. Right,
and so like they're like, oh, that's super old, so it'd be on microfiche and all that kind of stuff, and so she's telling the legend, and then that's when he kind of shows himself in the full get up.
Yeah, with the mask and the makeup and everything.
Right, and then Robert Englund, who's Doc Halloran, which is basically the Sam Loomis of the movie, shows up and shoots him. Which you don't actually know that he clips him, because the way he jumps down, it's almost like he just kind of pops down sideways. But
when it was so strange, the whole setup, and seeing how much Leslie had rigged everything. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, is that a plant? Like, is Robert Englund there?
Right.
Like, he had hired him to pull off the scheme, and then we find out that's not actually the case.
No, yeah, and so, yeah, Robert Englund is the Ahab, Dr. Halloran. So they go back, and apparently, because it was being recorded, you got the film crew. They go back to Eugene, and they're kind of going over the game tape, seeing what happened. They're so excited. Like,
you got your Ahab.
Yeah, you got your Ahab, and like, oh, everything, went according to plan, and they're like, we're so proud of you.
It's so weird.
Yeah. It's awesome.
You're going to kill those people so good.
You're going to do awesome. And so, yeah, they go and they're sitting at the diner where Kelly's working at, and then, Doc Halloran's sitting over there. He's just staring at him, and then goes over and says, hey, he's not who he says he is. He's actually a fucking loony, Leslie Mancuso. And they confront him outside later on. And he, like, you're not who you say you are, and then he fucking just choke slams her into the fucking side of the door.
I think I said this when we recorded. It's like, he's a serial killer, or wants to be one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call him out for something.
Yeah, let's threaten him and say, well, we're going to do this. Like, well, you're probably not, though.
Yeah. And so they go back to the house. They're touring the ancestral home. They talk about how the closet is a sacred space. A lot of things are described with imagery, like the closet is very womb-like.
Yeah.
They showed later on that the orchard's very,
birth
canal-ish.
Which I get it, but was also strange and uncomfortable.
Right. And so, rule 1, nobody gets away. So they stage the house. They go over the plan. He sabotages the weapons in the shed, pre-cutting trees, basically getting everything set up to fail for them,
Rule 2 is there is no rule 2. He says rule 1, and there's never a rule 2.
Right, and that's the thing too, because there's step 1.
Yeah.
Step 1 is the anchor for the legend. Step 2 is find the target group. And actually, now that I remember, I did for this episode, I believe I posted it to Instagram. I found an image that was from the comic book. Step 1 is anchor the legend. Step 2, find a target group. Step 3 is the flyby. And then step 4 is plant the article.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So they just didn't call it out right.
Mm-hmm. And then here, it's got like his own, it's got his little board, and it says heroes. It says Fred, Jay, Mike, Eugene, Chuck, Billy, Hannibal, is that Bubba, and Norm. Just like he's
wouldn't that suggest that Eugene is then not Billy?
According to this, yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of shoots down that theory.
Right, according to the comic book.
Right.
But to-do list, the dead batteries in... What does that fucking say? Dead batteries, sabotage all possible something. I can't read the rest of that, but like... This fucking picture is cool, and I'm gonna post it again because I don't know if I did already, but I really liked it. So they're sabotaging the weapons, getting everything kind of set up for the night. Car won't start, window smash, deaths in the barn, etc. Any advice? Run and don't stop. So they do ask him like, if you have any advice, we're going up against me or my friends, what would you do? And he's like, just run, don't stop.
Yeah. If you're in a group, be faster than the rest of your group.
Yeah. And then he starts to put on the costume, and he applies his makeup, which we didn't cover, but it's like got like a flame retardant and all that kind of stuff. And then he cries. He sits there and he gets these tears of joy just because he's so
excited and
so
elated
happy
with what he's doing.
Yeah. And then this is when Taylor gets second thoughts, big shock, because they kind of lead into it the whole time. They part ways. Tyler decides to intervene, which happens. Find out Kelly's not a virgin when she's
not
up
even
there.
Close.
Not when she's up there reverse cowgirl fucking rallying. Taylor tells all, mostly. Leslie then... I wrote down Leslie changes the plan, but like we talked about, I think it was the plan the whole time.
Yeah. Because it's discovered eventually that the main chick, whose name I don't remember, is a virgin.
Oh yeah, Taylor.
Taylor.
The journalist. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
so
a virgin, and that she
so
was
it suggested that she was supposed to be the final girl the whole time.
Yeah, and so, long story short, they know how everything's supposed to go down, so they're going to try to use that as an advantage to save everybody else.
And they don't.
They don't at all. The kid gets the post digger to the heart. The dead kids end up in the sabotage van, back to the house. Kelly falls out the window.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a better death than that.
Yeah, she just falls and blit. Don't do that. I don't remember the name, but Chase the Doughboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Come and get me, Leslie."
And he says that. That's not us being mean.
Chase. No, he says Chase the Doughboy. Then the rest of them run to the hayloft. Leslie knew the entire time. Taylor's the final girl. There's 2 dead in the hayloft. Stab and hang. Leslie falls. Doc is stabbed. Doug's wall to the face. Yeah, I think I went off of your notes.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Finds Todd in an axe. Then the showdown in the woods. Todd waits in the shed, stabbed with his own hook. Apple pressed. I knew you're the one. Yeah, with that fucking the cider press.
Well, they go out of their way earlier to be like, "Hey, what are you going to use the cider press for?" It's like, "Oh, you'll see."
Yeah.
And then he never uses it, which I think is what he knew would happen.
I'm going to assume
Maybe.
Taylor lights it up. She catches the barn on fire, right?
Yeah.
And then Doug, Doc, and Taylor survive. He's just myth or man. But then he does end up in the morgue. Mm-hmm. This is during the end credits.
In the real clincher that made me go, "Oh, okay, this is great."
This is he sits up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really expecting to see him just kill the morgue technician guy. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that he sat up, which was very Michael Myers-y.
Yep.
Because it wasn't like when I try and get up out of anything and it takes 5 minutes and a lot of grunts and sad stuff.
Sad stuff.
He just goes, and he's up.
Sits right up, dude. No problem at all. And so I know we kind of got breezy towards the end of that. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, definitely watch it.
Yeah.
It's on Shudder. I love it. I've seen it multiple times. It's great.
And I plan on watching it again.
Good.
Probably buy it soon.
Yeah. So the pod and our pod and gore scorecard.
Or pod and scorecard.
Our pod and scorecard. Either way.
Or a core scorecard.
The best kill. I never wrote one down.
I put apple pressed.
The apple pressed. I might
because it was one of the most brutal.
I think I'm gonna go post digger to the heart.
Yeah.
And then he pulls it out and puts the heart in the hand. That was kind of cool.
That's good.
The most wanted to die was Taylor.
Yep.
Most wanted to live was Leslie.
Yep.
There was no really gross moment.
I put hook to the face.
That's fair enough. And even the post digger is pretty gross.
Yeah.
Dumbest moment. I put the intervening because I thought that was dumb.
Because it's a cliche and all and they set it up the entire time. Mm-hmm. But for me, the whole point of the movie is you're a documentary film crew following a murderer.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen at the end of the day?
Yeah.
That he's going to change his mind?
Somebody's going to die.
Yeah,
you're
at least
not going
one
to stop
person.
Him. And so our special category for this movie was favorite setup or scenario. I put the whole library scene. I liked everything. There was a lot of planning and detail that went into it, and it just I thought it was clever. What was yours?
The pre-broken tools. I loved that because it's one of those cliche things of, oh, I have this axe. Oh, the axe broke. Oh, I have this and that broke too. And to see, like, they set that up.
Right.
And I could totally see a Michael or a Jason going around the campsite beforehand, like, filing things down so that when they try and use it against them, they break.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so that right there is our rapid
review.
Rapid
fire. I barely said 2 words. But it's okay. We're going to move on, and I'm going to end up talking the entire time during the second part.
Yeah, so the thing is that was my movie. I had all the notes for it.
Yeah.
The second movie that we're going to talk about is his. I have not seen it, so I'm going to go off of what he said. And then my movie is just going to be a quick.
Yeah, and I also did not watch his.
And
So
we'll get there when we get there.
Indeed.
All right, so that was our take on Leslie, our take 2 on Leslie Vernon, if you will. Go ahead and lead us into your random movie that you watched.
My random movie that I watched was The Witch.
The Vitch?
The Vitch. Oh, yes.
It was The Vitch.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God, it's The Vitch.
It is so scary to me.
I never saw it, so.
I love this movie. I thought it was just fantastic.
I thought you said it was boring.
Well, here's the thing.
Because I was going to, a while back, I had put this in a poll on Twitter being like, hey, somebody let me know what you guys want us to do. If you guys want us to do like an episode, I put up a bunch of movies. Mm-hmm. It didn't do anything, but
sure.
There was a poll up there. And The Witch was one of the movies I had put in there because it was a suggestion, or it was a movie that I had on a list of like upcomings. That you wanted
to do.
Yeah, at some point. And I just never got around to it. And so with Justin picking it for his random, we probably won't ever cover it. But
and here's the thing with I guess with mine, because yours is like a 10-minute something or other.
15 minutes, but
so
13.
We don't never need to do a full episode on that. But with The Witch, if you want us to deep dive, because the deep dive is hearing about how it was made,
all that,
and then we can get your thoughts on it when you watch it. Mm-hmm. So if you ever want us to do that, let us know, and we will gladly do it. And I will gladly watch it again. I own it.
And it's on Netflix
for now.
I'll watch it.
It's fantastic. I hope I wasn't trying to mislead or whatever with you here, but it's one of those movies where you have to prepare yourself for it being slow.
Okay.
It's not a slasher. It's not a super scary shit's happening all the time.
Yeah.
You're going to jump every 5 minutes. It's people on a farm doing farm things. And I'll get into it in a sec. I'll get through the nuts and bolts here real quick. Right. So it was written and directed by Robert Eggers, starring Anna Taylor-Joy, Ralph Ineson, Kate Dickey, Harvey Scrimshaw, Ellie Granger, and Lucas Dawson. It was released January 27th, 2015 at Sundance, and then February 19th, 2016 in the U.S. Budget of $4 million, box office of $40.4 million. The plot is in 1630s New England. English settler William and his family are banished from a Puritan Plymouth colony over a religious dispute. The family build a farm near a large secluded forest. Shortly after, William's wife, Catherine, has a newborn child, and one day their daughter Thomason is playing peekaboo with Samuel, the baby, when the baby abruptly disappears.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oop, my phone locked. And it is soon revealed that a witch has stolen the unbaptized Samuel, killing him and using his remains to make her flying ointment.
Right.
Yeah. It's super strange and creepy, but what I love about it is that it plays off of all of the legends and hysteria around the Salem witch trials. Like, your crops aren't able to grow, your cow's milk is sour. It takes all of those things and it makes it real. And it makes you wonder, at least from we know, the audience knows that there is a witch. More because we see her.
Okay.
Later on. But the family isn't sure, because you wouldn't be. The whole story that they tell themselves, because they're on the farm by themselves, is that a coyote got the baby.
Oh, shit.
And that she just didn't see the coyote. Because she's playing peekaboo, and 1 second she has her hands over her eyes, and the next second the baby's just gone.
Okay. That would be horrible. I couldn't imagine.
So it follows the family as they're grieving and trying to survive the winter, but the crops are rotting. And there's a legend of the witch in the woods, but you know how legends go. I mean, it's real, but it's not.
Right.
And one thing I found kind of strange is there's this creepy brown rabbit that stares at people, but
okay,
nothing really ever comes of it.
It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna try not to go too in depth because I don't want to ruin it for you.
Well, I'm not too worried about it being spoiled.
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted to watch it that bad, I would have watched it by now.
Sure.
So, feel free, and
Okay.
if we ever deep dive on it, I'll go into it.
Fair enough. So Thomason, which is the daughter, it's a weird name for a girl, but that's
Thomason.
Okay. Yeah, and their older son Caleb go off on a hunt and then get lost in the woods.
Okay.
And then Caleb finds the witch, who's this super hot chick.
Oh, okay.
Who starts making out with him.
Nice.
And he later returns naked. And I should point out something that I didn't say earlier is that the family, particularly the mother, kind of blame Thomason for the baby going missing. Because she was the last one there.
Right.
And so when Caleb goes missing, there's this whole, like, accusation, and they start kind of wondering if she's a witch.
Okay.
And, like, oh, are you doing something to him? And so Caleb ends up dying.
Oh, shit.
He gets back to the farm and is, like, in a coma, and then he has this crazy freak out moment where he coughs up a rock.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And then he starts speaking in babble, and then he just flat out dies.
Is that the witch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, she's hot. So I'm like, I should look up and see what she looks like. No, I think I will watch
Did
this
I
movie.
oversell it?
Not at all. She's not bad.
Yeah.
In like a creepy, please don't kill me kind of way.
Yeah. And so what's weird is when Caleb's going nuts before he dies, there's two other kids. There's twins that are younger. Mm-hmm. And they start going crazy too. And so Thomason is accusing the twins of being a witch. The twins are accusing Thomason of being a witch.
You're a towel.
You're a towel.
No, you're a towel.
And the parents are just like, screw this noise. Our son just died. Our other son disappeared. So they lock them up with the goats.
Stop being a fucking asshole. I'm going to lock you up with the goats. I like it. That's what you get.
So then the spirit baby and now dead ghost Caleb visit the mom in like this weird creepy vision thing. And it gets super strange, and the baby is nursing, I will say.
Oh.
But then we get to the real world, and it's a bird.
Right. Hey, what are you...
Pecking at her, which was strange. And then the witch takes the twins.
Okay.
And kills the animals. They're like skinned and mutilated.
Of course.
And they have this creepy ass goat, which is what's on the cover. And that attacks the dad and kills him.
Makes sense.
Sure.
I'm all enthusiastically like, yes.
Yeah, that is what you do there.
Go on.
Check. And by this time, the mom has gone completely crazy and attacks Thomason.
Right, yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah, but Thomason kills her.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes a deal with the devil.
God, there's a lot that happened in this movie.
And then essentially makes herself a witch. Makes a deal to be a witch. And then she just wanders off into the woods.
Okay.
And finds a coven of other naked women witches dancing around a fire. And they all start to fly. Oh. And that's how that ends.
You lost me.
They float.
You had me at Hot Witch, Naked Witches, and then you lost me with floating.
Okay. I mean, they don't like Superman fly away, but there's
Right.
like a hovering that's going on, and then Thomason starts to float as well.
Oh, God.
Because she's become a witch.
For reasons.
That was a different episode, okay?
Yeah, but we literally just finished
on.
that one like 45 minutes ago, so...
Yeah, I mean, it sounds super strange, especially summed up in 10 bullet points like that.
Yeah.
But I like it because even though it's a slow burn and the ending is crazy, as you can obviously tell.
That's an understatement.
The build up to it is so racked with tension, and the whole family drama of everyone thinking Thomason is a witch, and the mom's kind of a bitch to her. The dad's just trying to keep the peace. There's this whole minor subplot of the silver cup that the mother owned, and it was like her parents' silver cup, and this is back in the day when silver, that was a big deal.
Right.
You know, you have something that valuable, it's like the prized thing in your house.
Yeah.
And the dad sold it to help with the crop and, you know, buy shit so they could live, and lied to the wife. So when the wife is looking for this silver cup, she thinks that the daughter stole it and did some witchcraft shit with it. And so there's this whole back and forth, and everyone's sort of at each other and accusing each other of things. And the dad's just trying to kind of keep the peace and help everyone survive. And then it all goes to shit.
Right. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to have to watch this movie because it's just like, huh? So much.
I know. It's really slow and then gets super dense.
For a slow build, I mean, I like movies that have tension because, like, even if there's not a lot going on and that tension is real, then you get sucked into it.
And that's what this movie does. It's like not a lot happens for most of the movie, and I think it's only a 90-something minute.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and so it's like there's an hour and change of a lot of not much, just, you know, backstabbing and people accusing others of being a witch. And,
right.
You know, it made me feel like that paranoia around the Salem witch trials era, like this is how it would be.
Yeah.
Like, shit's going wrong on your farm. You can't explain it. You're doing your best to survive.
Vitches!
It all must be vitches.
Vitches.
And
bitches be bitches.
Yeah, and this is that legend becoming true.
Right, well, and that's the thing, too, especially because back in those days, it's like, if anything, like, the ultimate, like, fuck you is like saying, you're a witch, and then you're fucked.
Yeah, basically.
You said I was going to do it a lot, and I haven't.
That was twice.
Fuck off.
It's more than I've done it. Yeah, I mean, that's what I liked about it.
It's because your arms don't leave your fucking chair.
Try it sometime. If you had moved on, I was trying to move on, and you didn't move on.
All right.
But that's what I like about it, is it's like, here's this crazy myth, and all these horrible things happen because of it. And now it's, what if that was true?
Yeah, I could see that. Like,
and it makes it super creepy.
Actually happened.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, shit.
Oh,
shit.
Just Christ.
Just Christ. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So if you haven't watched The Witch, it is on Netflix, I believe, right now. For you personally, I own it if you want to borrow it.
Yeah, if it goes off of Netflix and we have to end up having to watch it.
Well, you should just watch it, is what I'm saying. Like, it's just,
I have a lot of things I have to watch right now.
Yeah, I know. Me too. But you should do it anyway. Oh my God,
how many times do you have to watch Endgame next week?
I've only watched it twice since it came out, and that's a big deal for me. Usually I'm up in the double digits by now. It's also like 3 hours long, which also doesn't help.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, because like with it, so the thing is we're talking about watching it Chapter 2 and then doing an episode on it.
However,
yeah, somebody who's not a sports fan is going to a sporting event,
and it's a 3-hour-long movie.
Yeah, and so it's like
doing it right after the movie is probably not going to happen.
Especially because, I'm off that day, but somebody else isn't, and they refuse to be a team player.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
you should have told Scott to be like, do that on Thursday. Make us not come in on Thursday instead of Sunday. That would have been a...
No, it wouldn't have. That's not how that works. That's not how math works. But anyway,
what I was going to say...
Instead of
not coming in Sunday, don't go in Thursday.
Aside
works
from...
out just fine.
This is one of those conversations we shouldn't be having on air.
Names? Nobody... Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not listening to our podcast.
That's not my point. At any
Going
rate...
on Sunday, he's like, I heard something interesting.
I don't work Sundays, you do.
Fuck off. Neither does he.
I know.
So Monday then, when the episode drops. He's one of the like initial 11 that listens to like immediately.
That would be awesome. And if so,
that would be so
hi,
awesome.
Scott.
Thanks, boss. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Good support. Go team.
Buy a shirt.
Yeah. 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 I don't remember.
Yeah,
so
well, no, I mean,
we're gonna do it chapter 2. I don't know exactly when that will drop, but I think because of the length of the movie, it's something that we should do some notes on, because Scary Stories did not go as well as I wanted it to.
But no, that was a disaster fire because we tried to do it live and we didn't realize that you have to have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube to do mobile live streaming.
Yeah.
So Facebook's it was.
Yeah, and we can Facebook Live again. It worked out fine once we figured out how to do it, aside from the picture was reversed.
Yeah, well, that's because I was trying to put it sideways, goddammit, and I didn't realize that it wasn't going to auto-rotate, so get fucked.
You're angry today.
I'm tired.
Well, let's get through your 15-minute movie in 2 minutes, and then
2
we'll
minutes
put
and we'll
you bedtime.
Oh, well, I'm off tomorrow, but like I said, I have a dentist appointment at 8 a.m.
Gross.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, I'll be at work at 8 a.m., so there.
That sucks. So yeah, my movie, I did not realize that it was a short when I picked it, but my movie is El Gigante. It's a Lucha Gore production, which is the fucking coolest name.
I think so.
That I like the whole luchador aesthetic anyway. So like when I saw that it was a movie based about that, I was like, okay, that's super cool. So El Gigante, it's from 2014. It's directed by Gigi Saul Guerrero and Luke Bramley. And it was written by Shane. It was written and directed by Gigi Saul Guerrero, but the writers were Shane. The story, it's based off a book by Shane Guerrero, or not Shane. Shane McKenzie.
Killing me.
I hope it lasts. I'm getting so tired. So yeah, it was directed by Gigi Saul Guerrero and Luke Bramley. And the story was written by Shane McKenzie. It's a book. There's not a lot of information on this at all anywhere, but it had 4. It was nominated for 5 awards and won 4.
Wow.
So it was a nominee. So it was Best Short Film Festival Prize winner. It was a Crimson Screen Horror Film Fest Crimmy nominee, Fantastic Cinema Festival in 2015, Grand Jury Best Short Film nominee, Film Fest 2015 Best Sound, or Film Quest Cthulhu nominee, Best Sound, Heavy Hitting Horror Fest, that sounds rad, in 2014 was a winner for Best in Show. Horrible Imaginings Film Festival in 2015, Best Director of a Short Film. Horror Society Award nominee for Best Short Film. Macabre Fair Film Festival in 2016, Best Short Film winner. And then the Winter Film Awards 2016 Award of Excellence nominee for Best Horror Short Film.
Hot dog.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, like one of the greatest short horror films. So like it's only 13 minutes long. The idea of the story, and the funny thing is the time it's going to take me to read the plot is basically what happened in the movie.
Yeah.
So after attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border in search of a better life, Armando awakens in an unknown room, his body broken down and a lucha libre mask sewn into his neck.
Which is awesome right there.
Yeah, he attempts to escape, but he's surrounded by a sadistic family who watches him with hungry eyes. The only chance for his survival in this hellish nightmare is to last in a wrestling match against the most terrifying villain of all, Gigante. is what it says in here. And so yeah, basically that sums it up. Yeah. So it shows Armando and his wife and daughter. He's paying a coyote and I didn't know this. Justin did, because apparently he's into these kind of things. But
just because I'm smarter than you don't have to be bitter about it.
I'm not bitter about it. So yeah, coyote, I guess, is the name of somebody that does human trafficking.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So Armando pays a coyote to transport himself and his wife and daughter across the border, but he only has enough money to pay for his wife and daughter. And, he begs and pleads, and the guy's like, get fucked, basically. Like, I'm not even kidding. He's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
And so he tells his wife, he's like, I love you, I'm sorry. And she's like, plead, beg to his good nature and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, he doesn't really have one of those.
Yeah. And so, the door's shut. That's the last you see of the wife and daughter. But before they go, he gives her a gold necklace, his daughter a gold necklace with a cross on it. And he's like, keep this, it'll keep you safe, and blah, blah, blah.
He should have kept the necklace.
You should have. So, and then it cuts to he's walking through the desert, and I don't know if it's a desert so much, but he,
on a horse with no name.
God damn it. So, yeah, he's walking through some deserty, barreny, wastelandy looking environment, and he's not looking so good. Sure. As somebody walking through that
desert wood. Yeah.
So he comes to a fence. It's like a barbed wire fence, and then he kind of shimmies his way over it, which I'm always cautious about when it's barbed wire and you're a guy climbing over.
Well, like
hell.
I've handled barbed wire, and I barely like touching anywhere near it because I feel like I'm going to hurt myself.
It sucks. I've cut my on the barbed wires at work. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it hurts.
He makes his way over, and I don't think he snags or anything. It almost looks like he tries to climb up and over, and then kind of gets over, and then plops. God damn it, plops down the other side. Yeah, thanks for keeping count, Mr. Math. I'm animated. I move. You sit there like a fucking zombie. Hey, I remember you did that 7 times in an episode. It wasn't me, it was you. I remember. I remember it was a lot, and you were like, oh my God. But okay, back to the topic at hand. So he's laying there on the other side of the fence, and then all of a sudden, truck, van, some sort of vehicle light, headlights turn on, and then you see this guy come walking around the front of it, and he has like this giant machete. It's either on his hip or he's holding it, but then he throws him a canteen of water while he's laying there, and the guy's like, oh my God, he's fumbling to open it and drink it, and then he drinks it, and then he passes out because the water's drugged. Sure. So he then gets taken back to the said room. He wakes up. He has this fucked up lucha mask sewn, like the base is sewn into his neck, so he can't get it off, and he's trying, and it's like pulling and just gross. And then he's looking around, like there's blood all over, dried blood on the mat. He can see the crazy family. Like, they were a little over the top for me. Sure. With like, okay, I get it, you're crazy. Yeah. I get it. But like, there's this like little Ewok looking crazy kid that has this weird, I'll show you a picture of it. Actually, when I post it to the social medias, I'll take a picture from each of the things. Blah, blah, blah. But it's on a chain, so it's almost like a rabid little dog person.
Kind of like the kid in
You ever see Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell and... No. Sad. It kind of like a little Chaka. Little...
Okay. I get where you're going with.
Yeah, and so like... Yeah, he's looking around, and like instead of turnbuckles, there's like skulls. Like it's a like for only being a budget of like, and it's a Kickstarter movie. I forgot to kind of start out with that. Yeah. So I mean, while like this movie came out or was done 5 years ago, I believe it was kickstarted in order to show you what the movie would be, and that this was like the opening sequence. But I don't think they ever got past that part, obviously, since it's been this long.
Sure. So it was supposed to be like a full-length movie.
It could have been. I think it was.
But it only got this far.
There's not a lot of information about it out there, unfortunately. And I went back to like the Kickstarter page for this movie that long ago. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, so he they show the crazy family. There's, you know, the guy, what looks to be like his wife, and then there's a kid, but the wife's pregnant.
Sure.
They all look dirty, like they haven't bathed in forever. There's a grandma. She looks to be blind, but she's always kind of like chanting to herself.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's kind of like
different.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets The Hills Have Eyes meets Nacho Libre, but not Nacho Libre, because Nacho Libre is awesome, and not scary in any way.
Yeah,
But so then all of a sudden, you know, he's all gigante, you know, and like you hear the lumbering of a like Bane coming, just boom, boom, and then he makes his way out there, and this guy is fucking huge. And then he just proceeds to beat the shit out of this guy.
Oh.
like,
I was gonna say, does he have a fighting chance?
Armando tries, he punches him a couple times. No, he gets straight fucking picked up, and at one point I thought that he was going to bend him in half backwards. Ooh. But he doesn't like all the way. Like I thought he was gonna fold it.
Not quite a Jason. Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, not quite. But like you can hear, it's like and then. So yeah, it's
so he banes him.
He fucking just gets him, and then he's hanging upside down, and I think that he gets his throat cut. But then he kind of cuts him in his chest.
Sternum?
Yeah, well, no, because it's more chest gut here, like in the middle, and then he's like pulling out organs and shit like that. But the thing is like Gigante has a champion belt kind of thing, but it's makeshift.
Well,
it's not well, yeah. But see, the thing that sucks is when he looks at the belt, he can see his daughter's cross necklace kind of embedded into it.
Twist.
And
so
then
necklace
he
just didn't do anything for anybody.
No, it didn't. And so I mean, that's kind of like, and he dies, and everybody obviously like it just kind of ends. But like, honestly, it's on Shudder. It's 13 minutes.
Yeah.
It is a fucking super rad concept. Like I would watch the full movie. Like I said, I love lucha. I love the whole culture of that. I think it's awesome. It looks cool. Like that's my favorite thing about Bane.
Yeah.
You know, is that like, and that's the only thing that that's the thing I hated about Batman or Dark Knight Rises.
Sure.
Or Returns.
Rises.
One of those.
Returns is the comic.
Yeah. Cartoon comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that they took that lucha aspect away from it. I mean, he was still smart, did everything cool. He I love that mask. And so, back to this, like, honestly though, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's on Shudder, 13 minutes. I mean, you can watch it in a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's good.
Yeah, that sounds super. I like I almost wish I didn't know the twist of the cross, because that, I mean, it makes it so much more, it's already heartbreaking, and you know he's not, but the fact, like, oh, they didn't make it either.
Yeah.
And they got wrangled in somehow by this crazy backwoods family.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I was like, oh man, I told you at lunch today, I was like, I don't want to spoil it.
But you kind of have to. I mean, that is the name of the game, and that's the risk that we take in doing these movies.
Right.
And this is probably one of the only times we'll ever do one where neither of us has seen.
Yeah, we were just like, we were, you know, back and forth for the last week and a half, being like, what do we do?
Yeah.
What's this and that? Like,
as a makeup for
stuff. He watched The Witch, and then he watched VHS, which I think we talked about briefly in the last episode. Mm-hmm. Or it might have even been this one.
I don't remember anymore.
Remember either. It's bleeding through. But yeah, so we're going to say, I'm like, well, hey, how about, because I like VHS. I like the concept of it. So we're like, we'll hold off on that. We'll do a run through on the trilogy of it. And so we'll just each do one movie, because I didn't get to a second. Because I started watching VHS last time when I got done. I'm like, what were the little skits in this one? I'm like, oh, that's what it was. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I need to go to bed now.
So whether we said it in this one or not, we're going to essentially watch the entire VHS trilogy at some point in the near to distant future and break down all the skits for all the movies and do our regular show somehow. I don't know if we'll go into the production of each one, but we'll see.
We'll look and see how much stuff there is into it. Like, if I end up being like, hey, I mean, I know I chose Texas Chainsaw for the next one, but I'm like, hey, I want to do the VHS movies, and we'll do that. But,
and a lot of times sequels is usually they made money on the last one, so they made a sequel, and the real story is the first one.
Yeah.
So that's probably what will end up happening here.
Pretty much, yeah. And see, the thing is like, I thought about it, I was like, well, shit, I'll watch a VHS too. But then I'm like, fuck, man, he hasn't seen it. And I don't want to fucking ruin those, because there's a couple on there I was like, yeah. And so we'll get to them at some point.
Yeah. In the near to distant future, we will do VHS.
Hell yeah. Well, it's been fun. Thank you for hanging out with us. You can catch us on Facebook, Pod and Gore. Pretty active on there. Come hang out with us. Share memes, talk shit.
If there's a movie you want us to do as a full episode, or if you even like this quick fire, do a couple, 3 movies, 2 movies,
whatever,
and spit them out real quick. Just let us know.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're just doing what we feel like.
Yeah, we're just kind of riffing on whatever we feel like doing at that point in time. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Gore_pod. You can email us at podandgore@gmail.com. There's multiple ways. You can send me an email right now and I'd get it and I'd read it on air. Oh, speaking of which, we didn't do it in our actual episode, but I need to do a shout out. Because we didn't, with the last episode, I think we might have read the latest the iTunes review that we got.
Oh yeah, So in the Leslie Vernon episode that we lost, we read off our latest review on iTunes.
Yeah, from Spaghetti Fingers.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing a double read,
sorry, but thank you double.
Yeah, so as of right now, we're at 7 5-star ratings. So thank you guys. We appreciate that. It doesn't take very long. I mean, we got a few reviews, but the ratings, all that feedback helps to let us know what you want. Like, we've been shortening the episodes because the majority of people prefer it to be shorter. So it's like, if we know what it is you want, we can do it. You just have to tell us. So the review from Spaghetti Fingers was a good amount of detail about the movies they talk about. Either convinced me to watch them or gave me enough information to understand the movies I didn't really want to watch. Also, good back and forth banter. Looking forward to more. Thank you, Spaghetti Fingers, for that 5-star review. And so, we're just going to call it, man. Had a good time.
That's it.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Next up is your pick, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes. This is going to be a deep dive. I'm not going to do Halloween levels of 2 hours.
Hopefully.
But we're going to talk about the movie. I fucking read the book, Chainsaw Confidential, which if you haven't, it's fantastic. I had the audiobook. I didn't read it. I listened to it.
Sure.
Either way, that movie sucked to fucking make, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.